new trend is taking shape as many South Africans living in London, Sydney, Amsterdam, or even Toronto are choosing to come back home. Recruitment Group DNA Employer of the Year, Employer of Record, sorry.
They could be the Employer of the Year.
Who knows, right? Says it has seen a 70% jump in South Africans wanting to return in the past year.
So it's known as reverse immigration. What is behind it? You know, is it the weather? Is it because of family? Could it be changes in global, local and economic conditions that are making South Africa more attractive again? So let's break it down and what's driving this coming home wave with the CEO of DNA Employer of Record. Anton van Heerden. Anton, good morning. Welcome to AM Report. Lovely to have you with us.
Morning, Iman. Thanks for having me.
So I think let's start with the data itself. How do we know, like, what do you do to arrive at this number and this figure?
So we just compare the number of people who have contacted us, South Africans who want to come back home. We employ them. So that's the reason why they contact us. And that has just increased significantly over the last couple of months, really. So there's been an amazing trend of people in Europe, the UK, and elsewhere wanting to come back. We then typically employ them. They can continue working for their employer overseas. We just give them a home in South Africa and we become the legal employer, but they continue doing what they're doing.
So just to clarify, because I think it's important, I mean, when we think about it, 70% of returnees, I mean, that's a massive number, but I think what's important is what you're pointing out is this is just the universe of people that you're dealing with who give us a kind of a statistical taste, but it's not an empirical study as such, a statistical take on the numbers of people that are wanting to come back. I think the next obvious question, Arabella, I'm sorry if I'm stealing your thunder a little bit, is why?
I think you've mentioned many of the factors. Family and friends obviously always plays probably the biggest role. Weather, ironically, weather plays a massive role. And we've actually asked people, you know, why. Culture, the braai and the vibes. I'm quoting some of the people that we asked. Living standards compared to Europe or the UK. Our living standards, especially for skilled and professionals, is really good. And the work ethic was also mentioned. So working with like-minded people, South Africans are known for their grit, their diligence and their work ethic, and people want to be surrounded by similar, people with similar work ethics. So that also plays a big role. You mentioned food earlier. I think food always is critical. We are very spoiled in South Africa when it comes to variety and taste. And I think I should mention the bokke, I mean, just the whole vibe and the positivity around, what's happening in our country. So yeah, all of the above.
Yeah, look, Anton, you get to watch the bokke in Twickenham as well, and it's become a second home ground, really, when you consider the number of South Africans that are there. But do you think this is temporary, or is this a long-term shift to migration or immigration?
I think it's a long-term shift, and the reason I say that is that remote employment has become so popular, especially after the COVID pandemic. So businesses realize that they can, pretty much employ anyone, anywhere. So that has enabled South Africans to come back home. South Africa is one of the top remote talent destinations in the world, meaning that businesses look to appoint people in South Africa to work remotely for them. So I can't see that this is going to change. In fact, we just see this escalating literally month by month.
I mean, that enhances, one would think then, the ability for enabling professionals, because you're keeping the job possibly internationally that you have, but now keeping it or bringing it back home. How much does that enhance South Africa as an investment destination too?
I think massively, because now, exactly to your point, you are enabling people to stay in South Africa, but they can work for a foreign company somewhere in the Netherlands, so they don't have to immigrate. So it's very positive for South Africa because we're keeping our skills, yet we are enabling people to get exposure, to working for foreign businesses.
What's so interesting in some of the data that you've put out from a sentiment perspective is how, when we think of separate things, things as being separate, like a budget surplus or debt to GDP ratio, when we think of these things in isolation, how from a perception perspective, when you join them all together, they create a sort of a portfolio of positivity that really, makes people look at South Africa differently. So I'd like for you to run through some of those things, Anton, that together paint a better picture of our country.
Well, let's talk about Eskom. I mean, the fact that we don't have load shedding anymore in itself, it creates confidence in our economy. The rand is stronger than it's been for a long while. So there's so many positives. Our inflation is under control, very healthy. So all these factors contribute to, creating and instilling confidence in our country. And that's also why, people are more inclined to come back, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, we've got the stronger rand, you've got internal reforms. I believe even the medium-term budget, Arabile, which you covered, also put us on a kind of a stronger footing with better sentiment. I want to ask you next, Anton, I mean, what types of jobs are these individuals doing, the ones that are coming back to South Africa? I mean, part of it, that you've already said, is around remote work, and this is, one of the reasons why we're kind of a positive destination. What other jobs are these individuals who want to come back to South Africa doing? Because it's also about bringing back skills and professional skills, particularly in this economy.
Absolutely. So the good news is that most of these people are skilled or professionals. So anything from engineers, accountants, and anything really. So that's a good news story, because we're getting those skills back. So literally any industry with skilled and professional workers.
Anton, let's just as a basic though, why does living abroad no longer feel attractive? And I know we've just pointed to South Africa being a place that has become perhaps slightly more attractive. But when one considers the amount of travel, the amount of nuanced experiences that you could possibly have in those foreign countries, if you're living in Europe, the ability to travel around Europe at a short distance and still be able to get there, one would think would still be very attractive too. So has there been a negativity to those economies versus our own?
I haven't heard negativity towards the economies. I think, as I said earlier, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. People want to come back home. What we also see, the professionals that we employ who work for foreign businesses still have the opportunity to travel overseas. So I think, overall, it's still a much more positive experience to come back, and people still have the ability to travel. There's a lot going on in Europe, as we all know. So I think that's also changed perspective. Politically, it's not that stable anymore. There's various concerns about security with Russia, etc. So there's a lot of different concerns, and I think the benefit, or the ability to be able to travel in Europe, that's definitely a nice to have. But compared to other things like weather, family, friends, etc., I don't think that plays a major role.
So, Anton, before we go to our poll, because we just want to see, and we've asked our viewers a question, which we'll share in just a moment, which I'm sure you've already seen. How long are these individuals who are coming back to South Africa, how long have they stayed abroad? And what is their demographic profile? I mean, are they of retirement age? Are they younger? Or is it kind of a mixed bag?
It's a mixed bag. So, as I said earlier, professionals, mainly between 3 and 10 years, as long as 10 years. So that's kind of I'd say the tenure or the amount of years people have spent overseas. And demographic, as I said, from everywhere, any kind of professional or skilled industry.
All right, well, let's go to our poll, Ara.
Yeah, so the poll question we asked you today is, what do you think, why do you think more South Africans are returning from abroad? This is the question, Anton, we asked our audience. And to close out the poll question, so the final answer everyone chose is all of the above, which is cost of living, South Africa is better, and family ties being the key reasons for why people are coming back from abroad. But while you're here with us, we thought we'd also run through some of the comments and maybe get your thoughts on what people have said off the back of these comments. Here's the first one with regard to the comments. It's from Rudy van der Bank saying, it's not so wonderful in other countries. Sure, there's more jobs and a lot safer, but crime happens everywhere. Most people won't go back to SA unless they have money, but people do want to go back. I will go back today if I could.
Oh, wow, Rudy. Oh, we'll be at the airport waiting for you with flowers.
With the South African flag right there.
I'm an African, says there are retrenchments happening globally in all industries, including giants like Vodafone. Mainly the affected are South Africans leaving abroad or living abroad, I imagine. They are forced to come back home and start looking for work.
Yeah, very quickly on those two, Anton, just maybe we get your thoughts on those two maybe for now.
So I think the reality is retrenchments are happening everywhere. So job security, you don't have more job security working in Europe or in the US. People have realized that. And in terms, an interesting fact that we haven't spoken about and that nobody has mentioned is safety. So no one has mentioned that they're not coming back to South Africa because they're concerned about safety. Safety is always a concern, but you know there are things that you can do to make sure that you're as safe as possible. So yeah, but retrenchments happen everywhere, as that person rightly said.
Oh, well, let's go back to our viewers and their comments, because we've asked them to break things down for us and really share their perspectives. So let's have a look at some more of those comments. Cabanewe says, good morning, team. Hey, good morning. As far as I can tell, the return is driven by a profound desire to be in a place where their identity and cultural backgrounds are understood and shared, providing a sense of being truly home. I think that's a really beautiful point to lean into.
He says, despite the sad reality that South Africa has become an oligarchy state, the spirit of Ubuntu and resilience are very strong amongst ordinary citizens.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting take just in terms of the concentration of wealth data. Well, Kevin says, overseas you can't knock next door and borrow a wheelbarrow. Ek is saam joking.
Listen,
or a cup of sugar.
Kevin, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I lived in a place for a whole year. I didn't know who my neighbors were. I didn't know anybody in and around me. I don't know. Anton, your thoughts?
So I think we always celebrate diversity in our country, and that's part of our culture and what people make us special and what people appreciate about living in South Africa. And I think people miss that. So we have a very unique flavor of diversity, but that's and it's even in our food, as we said earlier. So you don't find that anywhere else.
So we've talked about your clients, people who've shared their views and thoughts with you, Anton. What makes South Africa such a wonderful place to work in and to live in for you? Well,
as I said, diversity. I think we are so spoiled in South Africa. I'm quite a foodie when it comes to food. The variety, the weather plays such a big role. We are so spoiled when it comes to that. So and also the natural diversity. I mean, you can travel in South Africa and see so many different things. So, but I think at the end of the day, family and friends matter to everyone. But combined with working with like-minded people, our work ethic, all of the above, as people rightly said.
All of the above.
All right. I know it's Tuesday, but I don't know. I feel like we should spark up the braai and just have Summer a braai on a Tuesday. Anton van Heerden, thank you for talking to us this morning.